let's take a moment to talk tyres. Arguably one of the most important things on your car is the tyres. It's the only thing touching the road. So if your tyres are rubbish, you're going to have a bad time. I've invested in some new ones, which you can see there. And I've also got a spare set of wheels down here. The tyres on the spare wheels look good, but they're not. They are probably in places worse than the ones actually on the car at the moment. So what's wrong with these tyres? Let's have a look at these tyres and I'll show you what's wrong with them and why I'm changing them. Let's start with the new tyres. So when you buy tyres these days, they have your energy and performance ratings on them. So these are fairly average. Now, these ratings, take them with a pinch of salt because it does depend on the car. I found that this particular make of tyre is very good on these sorts of lightweight 1980s family cars. This is my tyre of choice for that kind of car. I find they're very well suited and they're quite good for smaller 90s cars. Other people have found that these tyres are noisy. That's never a problem I've had. And some people have complained that they're not very good on very heavy cars. Your mileage may vary. And what they are is Uniroyal Rain Expert 3, and the Maestro takes tiny little trailer tyres basically. Another important thing with tyres is they have a date code on them. Right, so you want to look for a little sort of rounded rectangle like this with a code in it. The last two is the year, so this is 2021, and the 09 is the week, I think, or the month. So these are brand new tyres. They're not part warns or anything like that. Also, there is nothing wrong with part warns. As soon as you drive on brand new tyres, they are part warns. The thing that is the scary thing about part warns is if they're too worn. So, as with anything second-hand, check the quality. On these tyres, these are the spare wheels that I have. And the reason I shan't be driving on these is things like this cracking in the sidewall. If you have damage like that on your tyres, stop driving on them and replace them. They're worn out. Even though the tread on these is still quite good and they look okay, damage like that is, well, the tyre's compromised and all kinds of horrible things can happen with tyres. You can also see on these they've been scrubbed. Whatever car they were on, they were scrubbed quite badly. So what is our date code on this tyre? Here we go. Date code on this one, 4001. So the 01 tells us these are from 2001, which means these are 20-year-old tyres. That's the other reason I'm not putting them on the car. Really, regardless of the condition of the tyre, once it gets above 10 years old, the rubber compounds are starting to change, and that's when you get problems where you have tyres with bags of grip, but then you take them out in the rain and it's like driving on Teflon. So it's very, very important to check the condition of your tyres. You can't take chances with this sort of thing. It is the only thing between you and the road, so it's the most important part of the car. Right, so you're probably curious about the ones on the car. And yeah, they're the right size. They are Champero Ecos, so they're not exactly a premium tyre. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And the date code on these is 0912, so these tyres are 9 years old. They've still got plenty of tread on them. This is one of the better ones as well, so there's not really any obvious degradation on the sidewalls. So you would look at this and you think that's fine, and honestly, as a spare to get you out of a spot, it is fine. But if we move to the front tyre, this is one of the reasons I'm replacing them. Look at the condition of this sidewall. It's got little tiny cracks and crazing in it, and for some reason there's almost no lettering. It's like it's all been scrubbed off. The tread's getting quite low, and inside the tread you can see little cracks here. It's basically, this tyre's worn out, and in the wet, yeah, you can feel it's worn out. Date code on this one, 3010. So 11-year-old tyre. Which just goes to show, once you get to about the 10-year mark, tyres tend to start to fail. Now this one, I can't even make out what the make is on it. So I can't even tell you what manufacturer it is. And that's really the condition of the tyres on the car. They haven't been a problem for driving on until fairly recently. In fact, they're surprisingly good considering their age and condition. But I'd rather have something better on the car. Hence the Uniroyals. So I'm going to load all this up, and then we're going to take them to the tyre shop and they can get me some nice new tyres. Right, we're back from the tyre place. Let's see what we have. There we go. They're not the prettiest wheels in the world. Wheel trims will hide all of this surface there. I'm not bothering to repaint these. I might do in the future, but just for now, I just wanted good tyres on the car. So I'm going to unload this and get the car ready for these to go on. The factory one, I guess. tight. Nice new tyres. It's funny as well, the tyres actually make the car look better just for being new and black. I'll do the other side and then that's the job done. Nice and easy. Those colourful stripes won't last long, but at least they tell you that it's a new tyre. So let's have a look at these old tyres. Now we can check which is the older tyres by looking at the date codes. This one is 2010. This one, the tyre's on the other way around, so look on the back, and again 2010, and it's 3.0 at the beginning, so these two were probably got together. This one's an Enduro, where are we? Here we are, we're an Enduro runway, so they're a fairly cheap, fairly standard tyre. Nothing to write home about. And this one's the same. For some reason the text is on the back instead of on the front. On both of those tyres, the sidewalls have been scrubbed so clean, there's barely any marks on them. Don't know why. So these two Champero Ecos are, this one is 2013, and the other one is 2012. So these may have been bought at separate times to replace those as they wore out. Fairly standard with a budget car, you don't replace all four, you just replace in pairs or singles as you go. At least they bought matching ones. But you can see, especially with this one, just how worn the shoulder is on the tyre. There's almost no tread. And on this one, there's quite a lot of tread. This one's probably a reasonable spare, to be honest with you. It's not terrible and it would do in an emergency. There's no obvious signs of cracking or damage in the tread. It's even still got a lot of the little stalks left. So that one may end up in the boot if it's better than the one that's in there. These front ones, however, when you look at the state of the tread on this, this is why I've replaced the tyres. Now, when I first got the car, these tyres looked tired, no pun intended, and needing to be done. It's just taken a while to get everything together, to get them sorted. I would not have been comfortable driving on these for much longer. They were already at the point where in the wet it was noticeable how bad they were. So these won't be going back on the car again. And that's really something you've got to be aware of, because I know I've belaboured the point a little bit, but the tyres on your car really are important. They're your tyres and then your brakes. They're your two important things. That's what keeps you safe. Please do check the ones you've got on your car. Even if your car's MOT exempt, please do these checks. It is important. Too many people overlook the condition of the tyres because they've not been on there that long, or I don't have any problems when I'm driving. But even this car, these tyres, they inspired plenty of confidence unless it was wet. So yeah, I could have carried on driving these until the MOT. I may have been fine, but better to be safe than sorry. And I know from experience with these Uniroyals, the wear is pretty good on them when you're driving every day. On a lighter car like this, they're very well suited, they're not that noisy. The wet grip on these tyres is astonishing. I mean, Maestros go around corners better than you'd expect anyway, so these tyres should see a real improvement on that. Check your tyres, replace them if they need it, and even check your spare, because your spare is there if you end up with a puncture or similar. So even checking your spare is important. Actually, now I think on, I've pulled the spare out. Let's actually have a look at my spare. So it is another Champero from 2013, and it's not good. There isn't any of the sidewall damage, which is nice, but there also isn't any tread. It's basically a slick. So yeah, check your spare wheel. If I'd had a puncture and had to put this on, that would not have been a happy time. I mean, it would have worked, but yeah, you don't want to be driving on something like that. So what we will do, the best tyre out of all of these I've got is this one. It's got the least amount of wear on it. There is no obvious signs of damage on the sidewall on the front or the back. And yes, it is an older tyre. This is from 2012, so this is a 9-year-old tyre, which is borderline on how old I like to have tyres on cars. But it's a spare. It's used infrequently and in emergencies. It's also kept out of the sunlight in a dark place, so you can get away with it a little bit longer. For now, I know this is going to be safe enough if I do have a puncture to get me out of bother. I know that it doesn't go flat, so I'm going to put that one in the car, and that one won't go back on the car again.